Hey, Lions faithful, do you feel that electric buzz running through Detroit right now? Lions News fan report here, and if you're fired up about the prospect of adding a proven game record to our defensive arsenal, smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss a single roar from the Pride. Imagine this. Our pass rush, which already rattled quarterbacks late last season, suddenly infused with a relentless veteran presence. Could that be the catalyst that finally turns us into a defensive juggernaut? Is Brad Holmes daring enough to swing for the fences and bring back one of the fiercest edge rushers in recent memory? What if the answer to our perennial pressure problem has been right under our noses all along? Let's set the scene. Last year, Detroit's defense showed flashes of brilliance, but when the heat was on, we often came up just short, quarterbacks calmly stepping up in the pocket, offensive lines nullifying our young talents, and that playoff door closing before we ever fully knocked it down. With a blend of promising rookies and under-the-radar free agents, the front seven improved, yet something critical still felt missing. Could it be that missing piece we've craved? A battle-tested warrior with the chops to flip drives on their head and inject fear into opposing play callers? Cast your mind back to the 2020 season. Our Lions defense mounted a late surge with dynamic blitz packages that had the league on edge. Remember how, in that Cowboys game, every snap felt like a showdown, how the roar of the crowd grew deafening whenever our rushers flashed. Now, fast forward to today, where we stand on the brink of recapturing that same electricity. Rumors swirled through social media last week of confidential conversations, hushed whispers among team insiders suggesting that a former Lion, renowned for his explosive first step and unwavering motor, is in serious talks about a homecoming. Word is, Detroit's medical staff, renowned for resurrecting careers, has been in constant contact with his camp, plotting a rehab blueprint so meticulous it could serve as a blueprint for a Hollywood comeback film. Could this clandestine meeting be the prelude to one of the boldest free agent plays in franchise history? Imagine a player who led his former team in pressures, boasted double-digit sacks in multiple seasons, and whose very reputation forced offenses to scheme specifically against him. What if our defensive coordinator has already drawn up game plans that revolve around unleashing this pass rusher on third downs, using stunts and twists to amplify his raw power and refined technique? Some insiders speculate that the proposed contract is heavily incentives-based, designed to protect our cap space while rewarding peak performance, hinting that the front office believes in not just his talent, but his hunger to dominate. And ever since the Detroit brass watched his highlight reel during voluntary OTAs, you could practically see the gears turning. Touchdown, saving tipped balls, backfield beatdowns that led to turnovers, game-changing strip sacks that swung momentum in an instant. Could adding such a weapon transform Ford Field into one of the league's most intimidating venues for visiting quarterbacks? Picture the public address announcer's voice rising, the crowd leaping to its feet each time he breaks the huddle, thinking, "Here comes the shark." Our rookies would thrive in that atmosphere, learning from a mentor who's battled the NFL's best. Young edge defenders finding their stride under the guidance of a seasoned pro who refuses to relent. Of course, questions remain. Will his surgically repaired shoulder hold up under the grind of an 18-game schedule? Can our famed training staff ensure he returns stronger than ever? Could the blending of his veteran savvy with our youthful exuberance create the perfect storm of energy, or will the risk of re-injury temper his impact? Yet, knowing Brad Holmes' track record of calculated gambles, it seems unlikely he would risk resources on a player without absolute confidence in both his physical readiness and mental grit. So, who is this mystery man poised to electrify Detroit's defense? After the buildup of rumors, speculation, and strategic plotting, allow me to pull back the curtain. It's none other than Zadarius Smith, the very same relentless force who terrorized quarterbacks during his dominant seasons. A Lion once. More, envision him striding onto the practice field in Honolulu blue, eyes locked on the quarterback, ready to rip momentum away from our rivals. But before the ink dries on that historic contract, One lingering question cuts through the roar. When will we hear the confirmation that Zadarius Smith is truly coming home, and will his arrival be the turning point that finally sends Detroit roaring back to championship contention? If you believe the Lions are finally ready to roar, hit that like button and let's finish what we started. Imagine the electricity surging through Ford Field when the official news drops that Zadarius Smith is suiting up in Honolulu blue once again. This isn't just another veteran signing. It's a seismic shift in Detroit's identity, a declaration that we're no longer content with incremental progress but ready to chase greatness. Picture the transformation. Our front seven, once a promising blend of youth and potential, now anchored by a proven disruptor whose mere presence forces offensive coordinators to rewrite their playbooks. When Smith first arrived in Detroit, he delivered back-to-back double-digit sack seasons, and the team fed off his contagious intensity. Bringing him back could ignite a similar revival that pushes our defense from respectable to downright fearsome. Think back to that unforgettable December night when Smith uncorked a late-game strip sack that sealed victory in front of a frenzied crowd. Moments like that are etched in our memories, and the prospect of experiencing them again gives every Lion fan goosebumps. If he returns as expected, our pass rush could vault into the NFL's top 5 in pressures per snap, a leap that would elevate Jared Goff's confidence knowing he has more time in the pocket and fewer desperation throws under duress. Could this be the spark that leads to a surge up the NFC North standings? Historical parallels abound. Just as Barry Sanders' return to glory fueled the Lions' offensive renaissance in the 1990s, Smith's homecoming could herald the dawn of a defensive dynasty, turning Ford Field into a fortress where visiting quarterbacks tremble. But it's not just about individual stats. It's about the ripple effect across the locker room and the city. Imagine rookies like Malcolm Rodriguez and Aiden Hutchinson watching Smith drill former teammates in practice, soaking up his technique and mindset. Envision the young secondary members thriving under reduced pressure, turning potential breakdowns into turnover opportunities, and igniting a wave of highlight reel plays that have the Motown faithful on their feet. As the season unfolds, every third down stop, every sack fumble, and every opponent's third and long conversion denied will crescendo into a chorus of "Roar, Lions, roar!" that reverberates far beyond the stadium walls. There are voices of caution, of course. Critics will point to Smith's age and mileage. Will his surgically repaired shoulder endure the grind? But consider this. Detroit's training staff boasts one of the lowest re-injury rates in the league, and the incentive-laden structure of his rumored contract means he'll be motivated to outperform every projection. If we've learned anything from last year's remarkable turnaround, when our injury-ravaged defense rallied behind Dan Campbell's unbreakable spirit, it's that this team thrives when defying expectations. Could Smith's presence galvanize us to achieve the ultimate? Upset in a division stacked with contenders, picture a Week 9 rematch against Minnesota where the return of Smith tips the balance, sending a ripple through the NFC North that resonates all the way to the playoffs. Beyond the X's and O's, imagine the emotional lift for the fan base. Long suffering. Supporters who weathered decades of frustration will look around and sense something different in the air. A belief that our front office isn't afraid to pursue greatness, that our coaching staff can maximize elite talent, and that our players are united by a shared hunger for success. When Smith steps onto the field, smartphone cameras will capture images of young fans wearing his number, and social media will explode with clips of his relentless pursuit, generating buzz that extends far beyond Detroit's city limits. Is it possible that this signing could redefine the narrative around Lions football, shifting the conversation from "Are we ever going to get there?" to "When are we celebrating our first NFC championship in half a century?" As the countdown to training camp ticks away, the anticipation builds to a fever pitch. Every insider report, every cryptic social media post from team executives, every subtle nod during interviews adds fuel to the fire. And when the day finally arrives, when Brad Holmes steps up to the podium and, with a confident grin, announces that Zadarius Smith is officially back in the fold, it will feel like the moment Detroit reignited its championship flame. So, Detroit Lions fans, sharpen your voices and ready your chants, because if this speculation becomes reality, we're not just watching history, we're making it.